Sind die Animatronics wirklich real?
Ja, hallo, ich stehe in deinem Zimmer.
Gibt es sowas wie Animatronics wirklich im echten Leben?
Hallo, ich bin hier hinten.
Könnte sich sowas wie das in Five Nights at Freddy's wirklich im echten Leben wiederholen?
Tjulfar, ich bin noch hier.
Freddy, ich weiß, dass du da bist. Aber ich meine echte Animatronics. Die großen.
Willst du damit sagen, dass ich klein bin?
Nein, das meinte ich damit nicht.
Du bist doch selber nur eine Hand größer wie ein Schwein.
Was soll das denn jetzt heißen?
Na, dass du klein bist, guck dich mal an.
So klein bin ich jetzt auch nicht. Hey Freunde, damit herzlich willkommen zurück bei eurem Tjulfar. Herzlich willkommen zu einem weiteren Reaction-Video. Ich dachte mal, wir reagieren mal auf was anderes als einfach nur Fnaf-Clips, sondern wir schauen uns heute echte Animatronics an. Animatronics im echten Leben und auch einige Zwischenfälle, die damit zusammenhängen. Ein sehr krasses Video, wie ich finde. Da könnte man schon ein bisschen Angst bekommen, ne? Kann man sich ruhig mal in die Hose machen.
Oh, jetzt habe ich den Kackstift in der Hose.
Ansonsten solltet ihr natürlich nicht vergessen, es ist schon Samstag und der Release-Code im Merch-Store zählt nur noch bis Montagabend. Das heißt, ihr habt quasi nur noch 2 Tage Zeit, im Merch-Store zuzuschlagen. Aber das neue Team Tjulfar-Design ist da, haben sich schon richtig viele gegönnt. Und wie gesagt, wir haben jetzt auch Kindergrößen im Store. Kann sich jetzt also jeder, egal wie groß, egal wie alt, was im Store auf jeden Fall gönnen. Und es sollte dann auch passen. Denke ich mal. Und wie gesagt, mit dem Code RELEASE könnt ihr 15% auf alles im Store sparen. Auf alte Designs, auf neue Designs, auf alles. Einfach beim Checkout eingeben. 15% noch bis Montagabend. Deswegen schaut auf jeden Fall mal rein. Aber wir starten jetzt mal rein in dieses Video. Lasst natürlich gerne ein Abo und einen Daumen nach oben hier auf dem Kanal da. Wir starten jetzt langsam schon in Richtung 220.000 Abos. Deswegen, falls du noch nicht abonniert hast, lasst gerne ein Abo da. Ich würde mich sehr freuen. Das Video hier ist von Fast Pass Facts. Und die haben nicht nur Videos über Animatronics, sondern die haben einige richtig coole Faktenvideos. Also guckt da auf jeden Fall mal rein. Gerne da auch abonnieren natürlich, ne? Hier auch Daumen nach oben geben, ein bisschen Support. Und wir schauen jetzt mal rein. Das Originalvideo ist natürlich auch unten in der Beschreibung verlinkt, falls ihr es euch ohne mein Gesabbel angucken wollt. Und wir starten jetzt mal rein in das Video. Hier ist jetzt noch ein bisschen ein Intro davor. Aber das nehmen wir einfach mal mit. Und hier seht ihr schon ein paar Teaser von verschiedenen Locations und Animatronics, die wir hier in dem Video sehen werden. Ultra interessant. Ich habe euch jetzt auch gerade mal die Untertitel noch mit angemacht, damit ihr auch alles wenigstens nachlesen könnt. Yes, sir. Oh, da geht's schon los, Leute. Also in dem Video gehen wir jetzt quasi verschiedene Themenparks durch und die Animatronics, die es in diesen Themenparks gab und halt auch einige Stories und Geschichten darüber, was da so abgegangen ist. Richtig, richtig creepy, Leute.
Funtown Mountain.
Und wir starten mit Funtown Mountain.
Funtown Mountain's history is so bizarre and tragic, it seems to be something straight out of a Stephen King novel. Back in 1969, Mammoth Cave was bringing a lot of tourists to Cave City, Kentucky.
1969 gegründet.
Advantage of this, Guntown Mountain opened in the same town. This theme park was themed entirely around the Wild West and offered guests live shows of gunslinging cowboys, a few rides, and many attractions. One of these attractions was actually considered by many to be one of the oldest haunted attractions in the United States. As time went on, the park decreased in popularity, and in 2013, the park was closed down.
Wow, das war aber really auf einem Mountain, ne? Guntown Mountain, und es war einfach wirklich auf einem Berg oben drauf.
The park remained completely abandoned for 2 years until 2015, when a man named Will Russell bought the place, renamed it to Funtown Mountain, and reopened it.
Funtown Mountain.
Here's where the story takes a weird turn.
Ah, okay, das war erst Guntown Mountain, so eine Wild West Themenpark-Sache. Dann hat es jemand in 2015 gekauft und jetzt ist es Funtown Mountain.
Will wanted to restore the park, and he came up with a plan to make it happen. He wanted to raise funds with a carnival road tour through 20 states where there would be live bands, a menagerie of freakish animals, and other weird memorabilia. Unfortunately for Mr. Will Russell, everything that could go wrong went wrong. Ticket sales were not
Alles ist
good.
schiefgelaufen.
The band canceled many of their tour dates. The carnival truck lost its wheels. Everything was pure chaos. Russell lost thousands of dollars, but in spite of this disaster, he still opened the park. The park's concept was pretty interesting.
Alles ist, also die haben so eine Tour geplant durch Amerika, um Geld zu bekommen für den Park. Alles ist schief gelaufen. Alles ist den Bach runtergegangen. Er hat trotzdem aufgemacht, okay?
They even kept some of the abandoned areas in the park like the ride carts. It also had a souvenir shop that had unique and strange merchandise. The park also had new attractions like a neon mini-golf and a renewed haunted hotel with brand new animatronics. Funtown Mountain also had the Mitzi, Fads, and Billy Bob animatronics from the Rockefeller explosion, and a set of the Wolfpack 5 that were restored by none other than the legendary Creative Engineering and still remain in the Creative Engineering warehouse.
Ich hasse Animatronics.
Open for less than a year because
also, kurzer Real Talk an der Stelle. Wir spielen ja wirklich sehr viele FNAF-Games. Und ich habe ja auch meistens in den FNAF-Games keine Angst. Aber das sind Games. Da machen mir die Animatronics nicht viel aus. Und die Animatronics sind ja auch alle sehr fiktiv, sage ich mal. Aber Animatronics im Real Life, gar keine Freunde. Ich und Animatronics im Real Life, wir verstehen uns gar nicht gut. Je nachdem, wie die aufgebaut sind, sind die extrem creepy. Besonders dann, wenn diese Animatronics versuchen, real zu sein. Wisst ihr, wie ich meine? Wenn die Animatronics bauen, die aussehen sollen wie echte Tiere oder echte Lebewesen, einfach turbo-gruselig. Ne, wenn es offensichtlich ist, hey, das ist eine Animatronic von irgendeinem Fake-Charakter, das ist voll okay. Das ist nicht schlimm. Aber Animatronics, die so aussehen sollen wie echte Lebewesen und sich dann so komisch bewegen, turbo-creepy. Gerne eure Meinung dazu in die Kommentare. Wir schauen weiter.
Sadly, Will Russell's mental health was not stable. In one of his worst episodes, Russell started destroying and vandalizing his own theme park. In another tragic episode, Russell invited guests into the park and allowed them to take whatever they wanted from it, which resulted in chaos. The Rockefeller animatronics were abandoned in the dark and left to rot, just like the souvenir shop.
Left to rot.
The city officially deemed the property unfit for human occupancy and shut it down. It was bought by David Froggatt Jr. and reopened under the name Froggatt's Guntown Mountain. This new park offers guests live shows, mini-golf, and the Haunted Hotel, among other activities. Fortunately, Will Russell recovered from these mental health problems and recently founded a non-profit to help normalize the topic of mental health called the Everything Will Be Okay Project. In the words of Will Russell, the two things that are incredibly dangerous when it comes to mental health, depression significantly, and that is losing hope and shame.
Okay, sehr, sehr wichtige Message an der Stelle. Der Typ, der den Park 2015 gekauft hatte, war also, ja, dem ging's mental nicht so gut. Ihr habt's gerade gehört, er hat teilweise seinen eigenen Park zerstört und Leuten erlaubt, alles aus dem Park mitzunehmen, was sie wollten. Und dann hat er den Park weiterverkauft, dann haben da Leute irgendwelche Wild West Shows gemacht oder so. Und ja, Mental Health, sehr, sehr wichtig.
Post-Hurricane at Six Flags New Orleans.
Das sah aus wie eine eklige Clown-Animatronic.
Back in 2001, Jazzland, a new park that paid tribute to the culture and heritage of the city, opened in New Orleans. Surprisingly, the park was not very profitable. It was bought by Six Flags and renamed Six Flags New Orleans, and many improvements and new additions came to the park, but one of the most beloved attractions from Jazzland still remained. Jocko's Mardi Gras Madness was a dark ride that tried to capture the essence of New Orleans and the legendary way in which the city celebrates Mardi Gras. During the ride, a crazy jester named Jocko orders his crew of diabolical creeps, zombies, and skeletons to disrupt Mardi Gras by stealing all the beads and golden doubloons in New Orleans, then hauling off their loot into the swamps for Jocko's private Mardi Gras parade. Riding along in custom-built ride vehicles, the visitor's assignment is to ride through the French Quarter, past the docks and a wrecked showboat, through the city of the dead and into the swamp, braving ghouls, alligators, and werewolves to magically recapture the beads and doubloons. New Orleans jazz, strange off-key calliope music, and dozens of weird sound effects and voices, plus a few unexpected surprises, added to the spookiness of this experience. Six Flags was planning to expand the park and even add in a water park, but unfortunately an extremely sad tragedy occurred in 2005.
Oh. Waves of water are already washing over parking lots in the greater New Orleans area. Some of the first signs of the approach of Hurricane Katrina.
Ah, ja, der Hurricane.
Hurricane Katrina
hat damals den Park zerstört.
Causing irreparable damage to the lives of all the inhabitants. More than 80% of the city was flooded, and Six Flags was no exception. More than 80% of the structures in the park were damaged, and the waters of Lake Pontchartrain flooded the entire park. It took over a month for the water to leave the entire park, leaving a devastating wake. The park was closed down and there was no plan to reopen it. Later in 2006, it was declared a total loss and it was officially announced that the park would not be reconstructed. This left the park completely abandoned. The Jocko animatronics survived the hurricane but remained in an awful state. Over time, the animatronics disappeared and nobody knows for sure what happened to them or where they currently are.
Okay.
As for the park, there have been...
Ja, turbo-creepy schon wieder. Also dieser Park wurde komplett geflutet. Alles wurde zerstört. 2006 haben die entschieden, dass der Park nicht wieder geöffnet wird. Und diese Joko-Geisterbahn hat das aber überlebt. Aber war natürlich auch sehr zerstört, sehr mitgenommen. Aber mit den Jahren sind die Animatronics aus dieser Geisterbahn alle verschwunden. Aber keiner weiß wohin. Hat sich auch niemand Gedanken gemacht, ne? Wenn einfach random Animatronics verschwinden, juckt das scheinbar keinen. Damn, sieht aber übel aus, Leute. Alter.
But for now, it remains completely trashed and abandoned.
Einfach zerstört.
Tex Critters Pizza Jamboree.
Oh, klar, jetzt sind wir bei einer Pizzeria.
The 1980s left us with many incredible animatronic bands, such as Rockafire Explosion, Munch Make-Believe Band, and the Wolfpack 5. One of the animatronic bands that is currently making a comeback is the Tex Critters Pizza Jamboree Band. In a way to enter a new form of family entertainment, Castle Entertainment Incorporated, AVG Technologies, created an ambitious concept named Tex Critters Pizza Jamboree, an entertainment center that focused on families. The location had arcade games, TV showing the most popular channels of the time like MTV, small theaters that showed 3D movies, and of course an amazing band of animatronics. The band was designed by none other than legendary Disney Imagineers Larry Nicolai and one of my personal favorites, Molly Crump.
Alright.
This band was designed to have a very classic cartoonish look. The band members' names were Skeeter, Cal, Tex, and Roxy. Each animatronic weighed about 300 pounds and were around 8 feet tall. Now these things were designed
8 feet tall? 8 feet, das sind 2,60 Meter oder so. 2,70 Meter. Fast 3 Meter große Animatronics. Es ist einfach... Nee.
Airplane parts to ensure that they would last as long as possible. Their face masks were glued to the inner skull and held in place with buttons. Unlike masks, such as those used by Showbiz Pizza, which were loosely slipped onto the bare mechanism, they could even be remotely controlled with joysticks, allowing the characters to look at specific things. They also had very fluid and natural movements, which made them live up to the Disney animatronics.
Ja, genau. Er hat gerade gesagt, die haben natürlich sehr echt aussehende Bewegung. Das sieht doch nicht echt aus. In welchem Leben sieht das echt aus?
One of the most popular being inside Castle Park Amusement Park in Paso, Texas. But 1984 was a terrible year for Castle Entertainment due to the high cost of managing the different branches. This led to the company closing most of the complexes, including Castle Park. Tex and Company were sold to Magic Landing and relocated to the park's pizza parlor. They were there until the park closed in 1988. Magic Landing was abandoned from its closing in 1988
so krass aus, diese ganzen verlassenen Parks,
leaving Tex and the band in a terrible state, becoming worse and worse each and every day.
Einfach
It's actually
Animatronics.
really sad to see something that was created to entertain and bring joy to people end up in such a terrible state. The park was demolished in 2013, but thankfully everything in this story doesn't have a tragic ending. Some fans managed to rescue and rebuild many of the animatronics.
Alter, einfach Endoskelette, straight up Endoskelette. Guck mal, wie groß die sind.
Hey Dog Squad, Sauko here. This is the first episode of exclusive series for our Patreons. From $1 you can access this series. We're leaving a link in the description and also in the corner. Back at you, Ben. Thank you.
Five Nights at Freddy's Animatronics Fright Dome and Dr. Creepypasta.
Five Nights at Freddy's Animatronics?
Every time someone talks about animatronics, whether they're abandoned, retired, or just plain scary, people have to mention Five Nights at Freddy's.
Of course.
Although these animatronics are fictitious and not really abandoned, we had to include them on this list. Thanks to the popularity of the franchise, there have even been some attractions inspired by Five Nights at Freddy's. The first of these was the Fright Dome, announced on September 7th, 2016,
Der Fright
and
Dome.
opening that same month. The attraction opened at the Circus Fright Dome and was created thanks to an alliance between Scott Cawthon, creator of Five Nights at Freddy's, and Jason Egan, the creator of the Fright Dome. The attraction brought to life the infamous Freddy Fazbear's
Einfach
Pizza.
Echte Fnaf Animatronics, Leute.
Every day it was open to feature new jump scares and animatronics in new locations.
Whoa.
The different rooms vaguely recreated scenes from the first game. When we entered the pizza place, we could see Freddy standing there, seemingly deactivated with two signs. One that announced the grand reopening, and another which we could see the name of Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. The next room was covered by curtains, and upon entering, we could see what resembled the office or the monitoring room from the first game. Then there was a corridor that took guests to the main stage where they could see Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica. They all seemed deactivated except for Chica. She was standing upright, unlike the other two. The rest of the attraction was filled with references to the original game, right up until the exit. While the attraction didn't have any real animatronics, it definitely makes way for a future attraction that could be based on the franchise. Now that doesn't mean that there's no real animatronics based on the Five Nights at Freddy's characters. Back in 2015, Dr. Creepypasta created a monstrous, life-size Freddy Fazbear animatronic.
Alter.
This animatronic is extremely terrifying and does great justice to the original Five Nights at Freddy's character.
Puff the Dragon? Puff der Drache. Ist das irgend so eine Fantasy-Drachen-Animatronic? Wow, was war das für eine Achterbahn? Einfach ein Camelot-Freizeitpark? Ja, moin.
Located in the English county of Lancashire, this park was inspired by Camelot, King Arthur, and the Knights of the Round Table. It opened in 1983, and in the first years of its opening, it was one of the most visited places in the area. The park had several
1983 geöffnet. Voll alt. Oh, und hier ist der Drache. Puff the Dragon.
This animatronic was one of guests' favorite things about the park. Camelot Park operated.
Aber das ist jetzt zum Beispiel nicht so creepy, weil das ist ja ein Drache. Ja? Ist ja eh nicht echt, wisst ihr? Das triggert mich nicht ganz so sehr. Oh, aber der Park wurde geschlossen, weil es zu viele Unfälle gab. Oh, alles zerstört. Guck mal.
There are lots of mannequins that used to belong to the attractions and now can be found all around the park.
Alles zerstört. Aber ultra creepy, oder?
Still remain, like the Nightmare roller coaster. Puff was of course abandoned for many years, but nowadays is nowhere to be found.
Ja.
Nobody knows what happened.
Die Puff Animatronic, die Drachen Animatronic ist natürlich auch auf magische Weise verschwunden.
The park is now fenced and entrance is prohibited to explorers, and it is even advised not to enter because it can sometimes be full of vandals and even arsonists, and there are currently no plans of tearing it down or opening it again.
Jo, alles zerstört.
Western Village.
Jetzt haben wir Western Village. Ah, wieder so ein Western-Ding. Lol. Gab's so viele Western-Freizeitparks? Okay, Fort Fun gibt's ja aber auch. Ein japanischer Western-Freizeitpark? LOL.
Over time, the park started to grow. They acquired more horses, built more attractions, and hired more staff, including performers for live shows. The park continued to expand and even reached 1 million visitors per year. As part of this expansion, the park added animatronics.
Oh, richtig menschliche Animatronics.
Was an animatronic of John Wayne. There was also a canteen full of robotic cowboys and a haunted house that included a Grim Reaper dressed as a dentist. Every theme park has some iconic building. Disneyland has Sleeping Beauty's castle, Animal Kingdom has the Tree of Life, Western Village had a 1/3 scale replica of Mount Rushmore.
Ja, moin.
Because why not? The replica cost $27 million, and not only was it an exterior structure, but it had an interior room filled with human-sized teddy bears dressed in costumes. In 2007, the park grew, but so did its debts, and with the opening of Tokyo Disneyland and Tokyo Disney Sea, fewer and fewer people were visiting the parks. So Western Village declared bankruptcy.
Ja, natürlich. Auch zerstört, geschlossen. Aber die Animatronics sind alle noch da. Wow. Richtig creepy. Stell dir mal vor, du bist da und läufst da rum.
In the words of the owner Ominami-san, the goal of life is not to make money, but to make your dreams come true. So maybe he did not make much money at the end, but his dreams came true.
Okay, Leute, und das war's jetzt schon für dieses Video. Das waren alle unterschiedlichen Animatronics, die in diesem Video drin waren. Es gibt natürlich noch viel mehr echte Animatronics und Stories, die damit zusammenhängen. Ja, das waren ja nicht alle Animatronics, die es im Real Life gibt. Da gibt's noch viel mehr Sachen zu sehen. Deswegen, falls ihr Bock darauf habt, dass wir uns noch mehr Real-Life-Animatronics mal angucken, was es im echten Leben so für merkwürdige und gruselige Animatronics da draußen gibt, lasst es mich in den Kommentaren wissen. Ansonsten gerne abonnieren, Daumen nach oben geben. Hier könnt ihr euch noch andere Videos aussuchen und ja, einfach hier oben abonnieren. Gerne den Zweitkanal auschecken. Wir sehen uns natürlich im nächsten Video. Macht's gut und bis dahin.